Good evening, Molly Maid owners. Thank you for joining me and sitting down to watch this broadcast. Unlike my monthly videos, which are short updates drawing your attention to good news messages and important announcements, tonight's broadcast is produced to be a little bit different, intentionally attention-getting, so to speak. In fact, it will be hopefully much like my traditional convention speeches, although delivered many months in advance. So prepare to settle in a little bit, hit pause maybe, and grab a cup of coffee if you need one, because this broadcast is sure to be newsworthy and noteworthy, and most of all, thought-provoking and motivating. Over the course of this past year, and many others to be sure, we've worked hard to craft thoughtful, positive, and inspiring messages to the system, communicated in strategic updates, webinars, president's talks, and perhaps most significantly, during my general session addresses, which often can drag on a little bit long. So let's hope tonight's is a bit more prepared, although this is my first time presenting it. To be candid, convention is simply too late in the year to provide this valuable audience with the news I believe that you need to know. Now, for me, the news has become somewhat of a ritual, as I'm sure it is for many of you as well. The morning news gets me prepared for the day, and the evening news provokes deep thought and discussion, certainly around my house these days. My younger son, Eric, often asks me, "Mom, why do you even watch the news? It makes you angry and frustrated. It seems like something bad is always happening. And if we just wait 3 years, it'll be over," he said. And I told him, well, you're right. There are stories every night that can be a little bit scary and alarming to hear. But information is motivation, and motivation is what ultimately creates change. So waiting and hoping, in my opinion, is merely coping. And I said to him, you know, Eric, you have to act. He looked at me kind of quizzically and continued, well, then can you at least explain why Lester Holt waits until the end to share the good news stories, like the ones about puppies being rescued from fires? Nothing but honesty from me. And I said, Eric, you know what? It's simple. It's because fear gets your attention. You stop, you sit down, you pay attention, and maybe you even listen a little harder. You might think how sad you feel for the people affected, or how grateful you are that it isn't you, and maybe even wonder how or what can I do to help, or what could I do to avoid this situation in my future. The news is like a warning of what could happen. So following my explanation of why bad comes before good, he says deftly, it's kind of like me finishing dinner when I don't really like it, thus the picture of meatloaf and potatoes. If I just push through the bad, I'm going to get rewarded with dessert. I might not even like Brussels sprouts, but I might discover that I do. Yep, that's exactly right. Sometimes to get the attention a story needs, we need to lead with the hard truth. So while I plan to continue focusing on the positive and bringing the great stories of success and achievement to this system, this broadcast is the cold, hard truth of what's happening in our industry. A truth that will have you asking yourself, I hope, which lane do I plan to travel in order to continue to be successful in this system, or to start to be even more successful than I've been in the past. Before moving on from the good news, bad news, I do want to point out that we've had some terrific good news this year, both in terms of the performance of the business, but also in terms of the performance of our employees. And if you didn't have a chance to see the great news story about Dawn and HSP here in Ann Arbor, then I would suggest this is the perfect representation of a good news story like my son Eric represented. Nothing more fantastic than doing good for others, as we do every day. But in this particular situation, Dawn was able to act quickly on her feet for a customer, helping to save her young child's life who was choking. Terrific good news. But by design, I'm an optimist and a motivator. So I want to focus on the good for a little bit, and someone who seeks to inspire. So like all of us, like I said, I love the good news. And for 5 years, we've been talking about our strategies and programs and designed them around being motivating, highlighting successes, and inspiring performance. Tune in, listen, and focus. Find out what's going on and dial into success, we said in 2013. Come back to school, we cheered. We're here to teach you. Listen to the real life, real stories of your fellow franchisees. Believe and change, share and do. And most recently, we said, what are you waiting for? Ask yourself now, what is it that's holding you back from taking advantage of all of these terrific and motivating stories that you've heard over the course of many years? We asked enthusiastically and positively, We've reintroduced the core Grade 8 programs and products, all of which were free and designed to help you grow and achieve profit in your business. So for 5 straight years now, we've had very encouraging messages in times where things have been difficult, particularly in the last 2 years with the challenge in hiring employees. And these messages, I believe, have gotten through to many of the franchisees. And they're inspirational stories, the good news stories of success like you see here. Those willing to put on that flash to pass blinker and get into the express lane, whether they first listened and tuned in as far back as 2012 and joined the first SOAR class, or if they were recently awakened in the What Are You Waiting For convention to join the Grade 8 race in 2017. Whether you were a first flock member or even a reluctant participant, those of you who have actively gotten behind the wheel of your business are in fact seeing the results. These numbers can't lie. When you look at over 145 people participating in these different programs with growth rates that far outpace the non-participants and the system average. If there was a more clear sign, I don't know what it would be, that participation and the utilization of these core programs, really understanding how to drive your business forward, is in fact what's going to make you successful. Now, this isn't to suggest that there aren't people among the non-participants, quote unquote, or that the system average doesn't have people who are in fact performing. Of course, there are very high performers in the SOAR graduates and the Grade 8 race that are helping to carry others. But most significantly, it's important for us to recognize that focusing on a few things is what's going to make the difference for our business. So this year's theme, it's all about life in the fast lane, a road race, so to speak. Anyone remember the 70s classic, The Cannonball Run? I certainly do. This was an eclectic group of competitors on a thrilling race to the finish line. They kind of remind me of us. I decided not to put people's pictures on the faces here because I didn't want to risk having too much fun in the process. But seriously, what is life in the fast lane? It's the drive that accelerates your business. It's the speed of sales that propels you faster. The RPMs, the fuel, the energy, the no hesitation approach to success. Why the fast lane? Honestly, because in any other lane, you, us, we are either getting past or we will be passed. After 37 years in the industry, I contend there is no better brand poised to own the position of leadership in professional residential house cleaning. We have to accelerate in an unprecedented way, collectively, to own that position and to protect and preserve our position against the emerging traffic in the competitive set. Over the next year, our team will road trip around the country. In fact, every one of them is out of the office on the road this week already, introducing you to this very road trip and this very concept of life in the fast lane. They're actually starting now, and many of you are having those visits. Working to help those in the fast lane go faster, those in the middle lane drive more confidently and join us in the express lane, and perhaps those in the slow lane decide if they have the energy and what it takes to accelerate into this race. If the idea of speed and changing lanes, so to speak, makes you uncomfortable, maybe even a little scared, today's message might change your mind. The road conditions have definitely changed, but with the right focus on your business, your vehicle, so to speak, the dashboard and the gauges, you will see that there's far less safety in the slow lane. In fact, you will be safer moving at or above the speed limit, accelerating to where the business really is. It's time to be brave and to be bold and to take the wheel as they did in the Cannonball Run, and as they said, to drive the car like you stole it. The intent of this message is really designed to frame your mind and your expectations for getting ready for this road trip ahead, for understanding what it takes to be in the fast lane. As the leader of this brand and the one who has the glorious job of somewhat reading the crystal ball, I have the privilege of addressing this audience and the enormous responsibility to you, our collective future, to both inspire and to guide. So with good intentions and thoughtful consideration, I'll share with you our view of the road ahead and my specific look into that ball, which includes focusing on the industry, the franchisees, the home office and what we can contribute, the destination, which is ultimately the customer and everyone pushing toward that destination. Megan is kind of that eye in the sky, the marketing guru, the person in charge of the brand and the marketing dashboard, the one with the helicopter perspective of what's to come in terms of our customers and our future in marketing, the competitors as well. And John, the ways, the man with the directions, not the shortcuts per se, but the right way to the right place, which is to retain those customers and that recurring revenue. John and his operations team are focused on the driver, or you, the owner, the co-pilots and your staff. Perhaps your office managers are doing more of the strategic driving these days. The fuel, your precious, precious employees, and ultimately the directions to get you where you need to go. So what do I see when I look through the windshield toward our collective future? It looks a lot like this, actually. I see an increasingly crowded highway with far more external congestion and competition, but also more internal distraction, both at the home office and the driver's seat and that of the franchisee. There's bells and whistles and things to take our eye off the road when really our business remains about the same thing: getting and keeping customers and getting and keeping employees. We can't continue to get distracted with bells and whistles and features only to forsake the engine, the fuel, and the simple and straightforward path to success. But most importantly, what I see when I look through this dashboard, as I mentioned, or look through this windshield, as I mentioned a moment ago, most importantly, what I see an opening. I see an opening for a leader in this category. I firmly believe that with thoughtful maneuvers, we can not just be a leader, but we can be the leader. Molly Maid can be the leader, the premier professional residential home cleaning service provider. Still, that literal and figurative opening is there but for a moment. Someone is going to make a move. I believe it must be us, not tomorrow, not next year, not when the traffic clears, but right now. This is the reason why our 2018 strategic discussion and our 2018 message is being shared with you now, so that you understand why within the first 90 days of 2018, we will be on the road better than 60% of the time, traveling to your businesses to help you understand the home services highway, the road ahead, and the very specific gauges that we intend to focus on the dashboard so that we can accelerate this brand to success. So who is on this crowded road with us? Well, it's a lot different than it was many years ago. Many years ago, it was simply the independents and the other consolidated franchise brands. Today, it's a lot bigger players involved. Those at Amazon, those at Google, Home Advisor and Angie's List, even HomeJoy. It's a $6 billion residential cleaning industry. The good news is it's a super lucrative industry, and therefore that suggests there's always increasing customer demand. So naturally, competitors are going to emerge. The bad news is that many are driven by cutting-edge technology firms, and that is expected to grow in the next several years. So should we be concerned? Absolutely we should. They're fast, but they're untrained and reckless. Now remember, HomeJoy, which had much funding and was ready to tackle this heavily desirable service industry, wasn't able to execute. They had quite a fantastic wreck when they tried to successfully get into providing in-home service when they didn't understand the workforce. The best news, our familiarity can reign over their instant popularity. We can accelerate our technology, and I will share with you our progress, and we can deliver the service. We are anything but virtual or viral. We are the real deal. So what's the good news? Well, there's a lot of it. We are part of the franchise freeway with an express lane for operations and marketing. Profitability, on-time arrival, proven phone scripts and selling tools, programs like Neighborly and Career Plug, access to great insurance providers. All of these benefits are part of being in a franchise system. Unlike our most aggressive new competitors, we have the season mileage of a long-haul trucker, so to speak. And the majority of you have the hunger for speed like a NASCAR driver or like my teenager with a permit. The truth is we can all accelerate from where we are. The fast can go faster, the cautious can engage, and the slow, honestly, let's go. Let's get moving. You do not need to find a shortcut or a different highway or a different path. In order to truly become number one in average sales per franchisee, in consumer traffic, in positive reviews, we must focus on 3 simple dashboard gauges. Over the years, we have refined and fine-tuned nearly every program within the Maid system, and we have overloaded the system with opportunities to improve, most specifically with the Great 8 race and refining all 8 of our core programs. We still firmly believe in all 8 of these programs, but in recognition that we still have 50% of the system that we need to engage and thoroughly examine the speed at which we're going, in 2018, we are focusing on 3 core elements. Let's talk about the brand or the vehicle for a moment before I get into those specifics. What do we see when we look at the vehicle, the Maid brand? And I don't mean the vehicle literally. I mean the hypothetical vehicle. An American classic. Maid is an icon. It is a brand name that everyone knows and that many loved. Similar to the Ford Bronco that you see here. One of the first to define a category. The Ford Bronco was, after all, the first SUV, even really coining that term initially. And Maid was among the first in professional residential cleaning. Without a doubt, the first to be on the road with vehicles drawing attention to our professionalism. Maid has a solid engine and a solid brand, but like the story of the Ford Bronco, a brand that became overshadowed in a segment that started booming. A vehicle, in hindsight, if better appreciated perhaps, or understood or celebrated, may have continued to dominate the category it defined, but it got very, very crowded. Yes, we are similar in some ways, not all, but some. We are America's first brand, but America is fickle. And our actual cars look a heck of a lot better than this Bronco. But for every 10 awesome looking Maid cars we have on the road, I still see 2 that are outdated, faded, and draw the wrong attention to our brand. The engine, the marketing, the mechanics as it were, we've done some things. We've done some really great things. But we need to upgrade our vehicle. We need to accelerate faster. Overhaul the engine, which we are doing with the Clio program. We must get into the passing lane with our marketing, and we are doing this as well with an accelerated path to our future with a website that will be launched in June or July of 2018. We are doing consumer research and more, but we must fine-tune the entire vehicle and become, again, that polished and enviable American iconic brand. So what are the facts and the cold, hard truth? The truth is we aren't growing like we once did. Consumer sales will be up 2% year over year. That's the lowest amount of growth we've had in over 6 years. We've added the fewest number of units in the last 3 years, and we have fewer royalty reports by way of consolidation. Have we taken our eyes off the road? Are there too many roadblocks or potholes? Are we on cruise control? No doubt the employee crisis and economic factors, even the political agenda, has challenged our brand. And our failure to add new franchisees at past rates, all of this has slowed our pace. But perhaps as a system, we've gotten a little too comfortable. Perhaps as a system, we are on a bit more of cruise control as opposed to aggressively putting ourselves in fifth gear. Let's be honest, the numbers don't lie. 2% growth isn't exactly fast and furious. So how do we get from the collective middle lane into the passing lane, the express lane, and start living life as a brand in the fast lane? Starting today, we at the home office are officially moving into the fast lane, accelerating every project we are working on. This includes much needed consumer research about brand recognition, purchase behavior, and future evolution of the brand, which is already underway, research that has not been conducted in nearly 10 years. Career Plug, the new recruiting platform, is now part of the franchisee fast lane, with the first webinar starting this week. This is an outstanding program that will lead to assisting you in hiring and identifying incredibly good employees. Of course, the full tilt development of Clio with the first beta user is firing up the engine for next month in January. And a new call center is being tested. An aggressive and accelerated plan to launch the new Molly Maid website by June of 2018 is underway. And while your corporate leadership focuses here, your day-to-day team, and most especially your FCs, are going to help you focus on your dashboard. It's about you driving your vehicle and us giving you the training to refocus on the 3 important gauges, but the autonomy to achieve those successes. So if we're looking at the Molly Maid dashboard specifically, we must be the driver. You must accelerate your Molly Maid. In looking at these gauges on the left and on the right, I've talked about the pressure, the external pressure that is on our organization because of the changing economics, the difficulty with employees, and the change in competitive set. And on the right, we look to the owner energy and the positivity within the system, the eagerness to succeed. You assessing your own energy is essential to how well you can read, gauge, and drive your vehicle forward. The 3 most critical gauges on your dashboard are speed, RPMs, and fuel. And in this case, speed, or the speed of sales. This means LMS and no excuses. The RPMs, or reviews per month, this is Google, Google, and Google, and I will explain shortly. And finally, the fuel, well, the employees are your fuel. And if you're wondering, I can't get anywhere without fuel, and employees have been my challenge for several years, I agree. There is no larger problem than the shortage of employees. But that problem itself has gotten in our way of growth because I believe we are using it as an excuse, and we are not addressing and improving other areas of our business that will, as a byproduct, improve our employees' satisfaction with their job. Increasing retention, improving service, and improving sales. It's all part of a cycle. It doesn't only start or stop in one place. But let's start with sales for today. What is the speed of sales? How fast do you need to be going? Well, it's up to you, but I can tell you that we are looking closely at the performance of every owner using LMS. And yes, a handful of you who are still not using the LMS system. With the emergence of Clio next year, the opportunity to avoid lead management or full script prompting will no longer be available. Now is the best time to get your office comfortable with what will be the future of every operating Molly Maid owner. Looking at your conversions and your performance with an LMS is an eye-opening and awakening experience. This past convention was the first in 5 years that we did not specifically train on LMS. Thinking to ourselves collectively, we've been training on LMS for years. Perhaps we need a break from training the group on this. And I think most of them have got it. The truth is, we don't. We cannot take a break from our sales skills and the important role that this plays in our success. I can safely say we are not achieving the sales levels that we should be, and LMS is the window into that acknowledgement. If we look simply at the web leads conversions, we can see that we've generated $7 million in consumer sales, that you, the franchisees, have generated $7 million in consumer sales. But that's only 20% of the people who expressed interest. We are missing 80% of the opportunity in web lead conversion. You'll learn more of this in your one-on-one conversations with your FCs coming up. But perhaps most importantly is the simple LMS to Success flipbook that is on the front page of TeamSite. How many of you have opened this 28-page guide to look, read, and click through to see all of the important elements and the ease of implementing LMS, the ease of handling objections, the ease of reading the conversion charts? All of it is right there at your fingertips. There simply is no excuse to not understand the elements of LMS. So stay tuned for visits from your FCs and calls from your FCs to help you quickly improve your sales selling skills inside the office as well as outside of the office. The second gauge that we're deeming the most important for 2018 is RPMs, or reviews per month. So in a vehicle, this is revolutions per minute around a fixed axis. Well, reviews per month are roughly the same thing. No business, no matter how small, can suggest that generating 2 to 3 reviews a month is impossible. It's absolutely possible. So why are they needed? Well, as we all know, Google is starting to dominate the landscape in every aspect of business. It's possible in the foreseeable future that even brands with stars are going to be those which are most promoted. Imagine if brands or businesses with no stars were not featured in any way by Google. For Molly Maid, that would mean that over 40% of our businesses would disappear from the Google local business listings. Is this surprising? It was to me, in going out to see that we have many, dozens and dozens of businesses with fewer than 10 reviews. Some businesses having been around for 10, 12, even 17 years with only 2 Google reviews. This isn't designed to shame or embarrass any particular owner. This is designed to celebrate those who are recognizing that reviews are part of our future, and most especially Google reviews. So while we focus on the speed of sales, we also focus on the RPMs, or the reviews per month. You can see the 3 examples on the left-hand side, all owners who participated in the Great 8 race this year in marketing, each of whom had fewer than 5 reviews at the start of this process, and they did one simple thing that we will ask all businesses to do this year, and that is to put out a simple, uncomplicated request for a Google review online. Part of that request tells the homeowner that you will be bonusing your team with a $5 or $10 payout for every 5-star review that they get. This small example here is expanded in greater detail with the marketing department, and they will share it with every one of you to implement in 2018. The sooner you do, the sooner you differentiate yourself from your competition. And as reviews become more important to the way search is done online, to the way search is conducted by voice, the more we will be ahead. We simply cannot afford to have any businesses without at least double-digit reviews. And I challenge the system, every one of the franchisees who can get to 100 or more reviews in 2018. Currently, we have 2 businesses with over 100 reviews. Imagine the difference for our brand if we had that many reviews across our system with each and every franchise. So what does this do for me and my employee problem, Meg, you ask? Well, what this does for you and your employee problem is it helps with the quality of service. If your HSPs are literally leaving these surveys behind in the home, asking for a 5-star review and hoping that the homeowner believes they did a good enough job to deserve one, they're going to do a better job particularly if they can earn a spot bonus for doing it. This is a direct incentive, performance incentive for your HSP, and has a direct benefit for you. The value of exposure will be far greater than the cost of those payouts for the reviews. And it's important to note that as reviews become more solicited by third-party vendors, Google is recognizing the authenticity of an independent review more than anything else. And these reviews, while solicited by you, are not in any way connected to any third-party establishment. This is a very important, personalized aspect of what must still be done in the service industry. I challenge you to get to better than 100 reviews in 2018. And the last gauge is, of course, the employee fuel. We must have employees to perform the service that we provide. We must have employees who are well trained and excited about doing the job. Earlier this year, we introduced the Recruiting, Inspire, and Hire Guide. And like the LMS Flipbook, it is available on the first page of TeamSite. And this guide is more than just about hiring. It's about hiring, it's about interviewing, it's about doing the simple things to retain your employees and create a work environment that's a place they want to come to. First and foremost, I want to encourage you to tune into the Career Plug webinar this week and in early January. This is a must-have program, replacingrecruiting.com, to assist you with a much more simplified aspect of posting your jobs and tracking your applicants. Next, I encourage you to review the Recruiting, Inspire, and Hire Guide. See some of the simple tactics that people employ to support and inspire their employees. And take a look at the pictures in this slide. The 50 women and men in our first home office training, in our first home office manager training seminar, and another 50 men and women who were trained during office manager training later in the summer. That's over 100 people whose office invested in them and sent them here to learn more. The most interesting thing that I took from each of those courses, however, was the concern of the employees that they wouldn't be allowed to implement the great things that they had been taught, that they were so excited to take back to your offices to deploy and help you to grow. Thank you to all of you who sent your office managers here to learn more and to be inspired. And most significantly, allow them to do the things, allow them to be the valuable co-pilot who will help to accelerate your vehicle. In some cases, they may actually be the driver of your business now. Give them the permission needed to fully accelerate the business to where it needs to be. Think about the little things that you do to keep your employees happy, and recognize that those little things are more important than ever in an economy where jobs are easy to find and great employees are difficult to keep. So what lane are you in? Honestly, ask yourself. We've talked about the engine of our business, the point of sale software that is Clio, the marketing mechanics that is our website, the fuel that is our employees, and each of the things on the dashboard that can help us accelerate as an organization as well as individuals. But first we have to ask ourselves, what lane are we in? On the highway, there's the fast lane or the express lane. There's the center lane, or the driving lane, and then there's the right lane, the cautious, slow driver, people entering and exiting. Which are we truly in? I'd love to say we're firmly in the fast lane, but the reality is we are in the center lane. We are driving, and we are driving forward, and we have great plans to get to that destination. The destination being the customer, the #1 brand in this category. But in order to be #1, we cannot remain in the center lane. As individual businesses and as a collective whole, we must move into the express lane. We must all consider how we can go from our current lane into the lane next to us faster, moving faster in the express lane, having the courage to move from the driving lane into the fast lane, or if in the slow lane, making the decision if we have the energy and the appropriate co-pilot and the right fuel to continue moving forward, but moving forward in a lane that forces us to go more quickly. So if we've established what lane we're in, now we have to think about why we are in that lane and what type of driver are we that has allowed us to be in that lane, or what choice have we made to continue in that lane? And I've had to ask this of myself as well. Am I most comfortable in the center lane, where I can get right if I need to and slow down, or I can put the blinker on and get left if I'd like to? I perhaps am more cautious, and even I consider myself more in the center lane. And as a leader in such a competitive industry, I am compelled to push us into the left lane, not recklessly, but safely into the express lane, so that we protect what we have built so far and we build the future faster, so as to keep our leadership position and assert the leadership position. There are many, many Molly Maid franchisees in the fast lane, many who go back and forth between that ever fast 6th gear and 5th gear, maybe a little back and forth. It's impossible to stay in 6th gear all the time. But these are owners who are established and excited and always willing to help others. They're willing to try new things, and they are unafraid of change. They are very cognizant of the external factors, and they are not blaming the outside. They are focusing inside their vehicle and straight ahead on the road ahead. Those in the center lane are more of the Sunday driver or the pleasant passenger. And I use pleasant because you're doing well, and we're having a good time, and we're enjoying the drive. We're compliant, we're not having problems, we're not really bothered by roadblocks, but we might not actively be avoiding them either. When really what we need to start thinking about is moving into the fast lane. Because as we continue to go the pace of the road, we actually are going to be left behind as more and more competitors seek that opening to get into the left lane, to pass us, to take our customers, to have greater brand recognition, to become easier to work with, to perhaps even provide a better service for a lower price. We are the premier. We need to command our price by commanding our lane and owning the level of professionalism that only the most experienced can deliver in this category. And what about those in the right lane, the slowest drivers? This is not about tenure. This is not about the size of a business. This is about the progress of a business. If a business is 2 years old and has been going at the same pace, or 20 years old and going at the same pace, it's probably going too slowly. And while these can be considered perhaps a backseat driver, maybe someone who's less involved in their business than they once were, maybe someone whose positivity has sloughed off over many years in the business, there is opportunity to re-engage the slow-moving businesses into the middle lane and even potentially into the fast lane. But what there is not opportunity for is to stand by idly and watch the slow-moving businesses start to lose their traction to emerging competitors in their area. You must preserve the value of your business, and preserving requires that we are serving customers with the highest standard and that we are paying attention to the changing marketplace. We cannot continue to move slowly and think that the value of our business that we're investing in, or the future value of our business, should we choose to move on, is increasing in any way close to the rate that our competitors are moving. This is a very important lane position to consider. The energy needed to move from lane to lane is incredible, but the pressure from the outside is even more. If we don't move to a more healthy speed, I fear that some of these businesses could be lost in this emerging traffic jam. We want to encourage franchisees to consider the feedback that we are providing, the advice and the direction that we can help with for you to see that opening in the road ahead and to make the proper decision about which lane your business should be occupying. I'm not trying to single out regions, length of ownership, size of territory, but I am trying to provoke thought and create some discomfort about our assumptions regarding success. Before we reject the message, I ask us to stop and consider, really, truly consider if we are actively driving our business with the tools and the gauges, the instruments and the co-pilots needed to make our business successful. We want you on this road trip with us. We want you to live we want you to live life in the fast lane. Our system sales will tell the story in our future as we take that opportunity to move into the fast lane together as a whole and assert ourselves on that future path to success. Your FC team will be setting goals for your businesses, mapping out where you are on this road trip, particularly as it relates to these 3 gauges. And over the next 12 months, you will hear us talk about acceleration and speed. You will see us deliver projects with an accelerated speed that will help you in your individual businesses and us as a collective whole. I hope that you will look forward to the change and the excitement that comes with the re-emergence of an American classic. This is the new Ford Bronco, the 2021 Ford Bronco, the celebrated American icon of a brand loved by hundreds of thousands of people who have owned this vehicle over the past 30 years, but who for 15 years have been awaiting this comeback. One of them is me. I can't wait to be part of the Maid brand re-emerging with such power and vigor in the marketplace and taking that position of ownership that I believe is rightfully ours, but must be aggressively and assertively grabbed. I look forward to all of you choosing to be part of this road trip. I look forward to you being excited about life in the fast lane, not concerned about the external pressures, but motivated in a bold way to join this race, to move into the passing lane, and to take this brand where it must go starting in 2018 and the years ahead. I look forward to sharing this message with you again in January. The specifics on each of these 3 elements of the dashboard and how they will be implemented for those of you who will have personal visits, as well as those of you who will receive the traditional FC support via phone. Jennifer and Megan in the marketing department will kick off the RPM race to 100 for the Google reviews. And we know that all of you will get involved in Career Plug as soon as possible this month in order to kick off a great year going forward. I look forward to seeing all of you at the Phoenix convention, and I look forward to seeing so many of you between now and then while I join the FC team on this road trip and this exciting race into the fast lane for Maid. Have a wonderful week, everyone, and I hope you've all had a chance to enjoy and absorb this message. Thank you.